right, Ruth 3. Well, congratulations, you've made it more than halfway through this book. All right, so in Ruth 1, we watched Naomi lose everything and return home in sorrow. And in chapter 2, we saw Ruth work faithfully in Boaz's field and experience just undeserved grace and kindness. Well, today, the story shifts just a little bit. So let's go ahead and jump into Ruth chapter 3, verse 1. Then Naomi, her mother-in-law, said to her, "My daughter, should I not seek rest for you that it may be well with you? Is not Boaz a relative with whose young women you were? See, he is winnowing barley tonight at the threshing floor." Okay? So Naomi sees that the harvest is ending. Remember, it's been about 2 months now, and her maternal heart is finally starting to stir, starting to see that bitterness kind of melt off of Naomi's heart. And she wants Ruth to have a future, to have home, to have security. She realized how much is lacking in her daughter-in-law's life. So she comes up with a plan. Tonight marks the end of the harvest, and she knows that after the threshing has been completed on the last day, there's typically a very big feast. And we all know what happens at feast time, as we studied in Ruth. Everybody eats to their fullest and drinks to their fullest. So this presents a unique opportunity that Naomi is going to take advantage of. Verse 3, "Wash therefore and anoint yourself, and put on your cloak and go down to the threshing floor. But do not make yourself known to the man until he has finished eating and drinking. And when he lies down, observe the place where he lies. Then go and uncover his feet and lay down, and he will tell you what to do." And she replied, "All that you say, I will do." That sounds really weird. It does sound really weird, right? Okay? But Naomi gives Ruth precise instructions. Take a bath, okay? Anoint yourself. Get dressed up in your fanciest tunic, okay? She wants her to look presentable and beautiful, okay? Because she's probably been wearing mourning clothes. Remember, her husband has died. So these two widows were probably in their mourning clothes. But Naomi says, enough is enough. We've got a unique opportunity tonight. So I want you to go get dressed in your finest, okay? And then I want you to wait. I want you to go look where Boaz is. He's going to be eating and drinking. Keep an eye on him, okay? When he lays down to sleep, I want you to uncover his feet and lay down next to it, okay? Yeah. But if you had to look for your future man, okay, how would you like to have those instructions to look for your future man? Okay, really odd. And it's just shocking to us. We just can't wrap our minds around this, right? What in the world is going on here? But this wasn't a seductive act, okay? She wasn't doing anything wrong. It was actually symbolic of submission and trust, because during that time, a servant would literally sleep at their master's feet, ready to be on call for whatever their master needed, okay? Ready to obey. So what Ruth is going to be telling Boaz in this symbolic act of uncovering his feet and laying down at his feet is, I'm placing myself and my future in your hands, okay? So this is a very humbling, symbolic act. I am your servant. I am here to do whatever it is that you see is right for me and my future, okay? So that's what she's going to be telling Boaz. All right. Ruth is also claiming a right here, okay, that Naomi has explained to her about the kinsman redeemer, but she's doing it in a humble way, okay? She's going to trust Boaz's character. He's going to do the right thing, right? So Boaz is one of the men who can act as a family kinsman redeemer. There wouldn't just be one, there would be a couple of them, but he is one of them. And this position held several responsibilities according to Hebrew law. According to Numbers 35, he was responsible for being the avenger of blood, to make sure that a murderer of a family member answered for their crime. That was his responsibility as the kinsman redeemer. Also, according to Leviticus 25, he was responsible for buying a fellow Israelite out of slavery, and he was responsible to buy back family land that had to be forfeited. So if you had to sell off a family member or land in order to pay off debts, a kinsman redeemer could be the one to go buy all of that back, okay? And also, according to Deuteronomy 25, he was responsible for marrying a childless widow to preserve the family line, okay? So this is his position that he is in. So this action wasn't about romance, it was about a legal act, okay? But instead of just approaching Boaz and forcing his hand, she's submitting herself to Boaz and what he is going to do, okay? So notice Ruth's response to Naomi. All that you say, I will do. Now remember, she's a Moabite. She does not understand these customs at all. They are not her customs. They are the Israelites' custom. Moab does not have these customs. Okay? They have their own culture and a whole different set of customs. So she may not understand all of this, but she's going to obey. She's going to trust Naomi. She's going to trust Boaz. She's going to trust God. Okay? So she's going to step out and be obedient, not knowing what Boaz's response is going to be. We know what Boaz's response is going to be. She has no idea. He could deny her. Okay? So let's find out what happens. Verse 6. So she went down to the threshing floor and did just as her mother-in-law had commanded her. And when Boaz had eaten and drunk and his heart was merry, he went to lie down at the end of a heap of grain. Then she came softly and uncovered his feet and lay down. Okay? So the threshing floor is where the grain was kind of processed. It would have been like stones and stuff, and you basically put a heap on there, and then you took a pitchfork and you flung it up into the air, and the grains fell down because they were heavy, and then the chaff, the lighter weight, would be blown off with the wind. So that's what you would do all afternoon long, trying to collect the heads of grain. Okay? So during this time of Judges, it was often a place of great danger because there were all these thieves who were doing as they wanted to do, and sometimes it would also be a place of immorality would happen during this if you read the book of Judges. But Ruth here is going to act with courage. She's going to approach Boaz. And Boaz is there because he's protecting his harvest. We have these huge piles of grains everywhere. He's going to lay down and protect his harvest, just like a shepherd would lay down and protect their sheep at the end of the night. Boaz is doing the same to his grains. Okay? So Ruth approaches very, very softly and quietly. Okay? And just as Naomi had instructed her, she's going to roll back his tunic over his feet, and she's going to lie down. So everything about this scene reflects faith. Okay? Naomi's wise planning. She had to trust that Boaz knew what was going to happen. Okay, and not just thinking that she's insane. Ruth's quiet obedience and Boaz's trustworthy character. Nothing is rash or reckless about all of this. It's very, very deliberate and just soaked in humility here.
Why did his feet have to be out of his clothes? Why couldn't you just lay it?
Yeah, so there's two reasons. One, it would wake him up because it was cold at night. And so she wanted him to wake up and realize that she's there. Okay, because if she just laid down, he might not wake up by the time the sun rises. So that's kind of the physical aspect. And then the symbolic aspect is, I am showing you my humility by being closest to what they would consider the filthiest part of them.
Yeah.
Because their feet were in everything all the time. Mm-hmm. So that was their most embarrassing part. We think other parts of the most, like the hidden parts, they would cover their feet. Okay, because that was the most vulnerable place on them, and the most dirty, filthy, nasty. Does that give you a different layer when Jesus washes the disciples' feet? Mm-hmm. Okay, so she's uncovering that of, I'm going to be here while you're vulnerable and I'm vulnerable. Okay, so symbolic, and also it would be very easy to wake somebody up if it's freezing out and you uncover their feet. So yeah, a couple of layers there. All right, verse 8. At midnight, the man was startled and turned over, and behold, a woman lay at his feet. He said, "Who are you?" And she answered, "I am Ruth, your servant. Spread your wings over your servant, for you are a redeemer." So in the middle of the night, it takes a little while. Remember, he's very full and has been drinking, so he's kind of passed out. He's startled awake, and he realizes somebody's at his feet. But he realizes it's a woman, okay, so he doesn't, take evasive actions of somebody's trying to, steal the stuff. But he can't quite see her. Remember, it's pitch black. We're in the middle of the night. They didn't have night lights and electricity. He couldn't have just flipped on the light. He's out in the middle of nowhere, okay? And he asks her, "Who are you?" And Ruth answers, "Not only that I am Ruth, but I am your servant," okay? So in the literal sense, she's not. She doesn't belong to him. She's not his literal servant. But in humility, she's basically saying, I am at your disposal. Okay, I am placing all of me and my future in your hands.
Do you feel okay?
Yeah.
You're getting a whole rash down the side of your
I
face.
know. I'm
Okay.
talking fast.
Okay.
Sorry.
I'm like, is she having hives? Is she about to? Okay.
When I start talking fast, I remember to breathe. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. So then Ruth uses a double entendre here. She tells him in verse 9, spread your wings over your servant, for you are a redeemer. Okay? So she asked Boaz to basically spread the edge of his garment over her. Okay? So this is the physical symbol again and a spiritual symbol. She's using the same words that he said, may God spread his wing over you who you've taken refuge in. She's using the same exact words. So she not only wants to have the physical symbol, but the spiritual symbol of take me under your wing, take me under your protection, okay? So she's asking for this, basically asking, will you marry me, okay? Will you redeem me by marrying me, by taking me under your wing, taking me under your protection? So she's basically proposing to Boaz.
Oh.
So this isn't a new thing that women think they're doing now.
Yeah, no. All the way back here, yeah. She's the one who is asking him, will you redeem me by marrying me? That was the option that they had.
So that's a proposal?
That's a proposal.
Okay.
But it is completely his choice. She is basically saying you have the legal right to redeem me through marriage. So yes, it is a proposal, okay? So her words echo Boaz's own words that he said back in chapter 2. The Lord repay you for what you have done, and a full reward be given to you by the Lord, the God of Israel, under whose wings you have come to take refuge. So she's throwing his own words back at him as a reminder, you have the right to do what you ask God to bless me, okay? You can be that blessing that you asked for, is what she's reminding him of. You ask the Lord to bless me, you can be the one who blesses me. Okay, so culturally and legally this was her right, but she doesn't demand it. She entrusts herself to Boaz's mercy and goodness, to Boaz's character. Okay, so verse 10, Boaz's answer is, get out of here, crazy lady, what's wrong with you? I'm the man, I'm supposed to do this. Right? That's what your Bible says?
No.
I was gonna say, that's not what I'm looking at.
Right? That's what Boaz says, right? No, okay, verse 10. And he said, may you be blessed by the Lord, my daughter. You have made this last kindness greater than the first, and that you have not gone after young men, whether rich or poor. And now, my daughter, do not fear. I will do for you all that you ask, and for all my fellow townsmen know that you are a worthy woman. Okay? So Boaz
But isn't it odd that he's calling her daughter and she just asked him to marry her? That's kind of creep-tastic.
So it wouldn't be calling her his literal daughter, or daughter as in like, I am older and more responsible, I can be responsible for you.
It's still creepy.
It's very creepy in
Okay.
our modern ears.
Okay.
Yeah. Not so creepy back then. but
Okay.
Yeah. Basically he's recognizing that there are two different positions.
Okay.
Okay. So Boaz is moved.
Young
He
woman would work
sees
better.
her character. Okay. He praises her for not choosing younger men. So again, we can kind of see there's probably some age difference. Probably not as much as we were probably thinking. There's probably not 40 years. Right.
That's
Boaz
the
is
first
sugar
term.
daddy. Yeah. So there's probably a
Proposals
age
and sugar daddies.
difference.
But
Yeah,
that still
see,
wouldn't have been
it's here.
abnormal.
It would not be abnormal at all. No. There was usually at least 20 years between men and women in their marriages. Yeah, because men wanted the younger women who produce children for longer and healthier, and men had to be older in order to provide for all of them. So there usually was an age gap. But it's kind of interesting that Boaz, you kind of get the feel that he doesn't consider himself attractive, worthy, right? I'm old, no one wants me. Why are you even coming after me? So we kind of get a little bit of Boaz's reflection of himself. Why would you even consider me for marriage? There's all these other guys that you could have gone after, okay? So Boaz doesn't even talk about Ruth's outward appearance. He doesn't tell her that she's beautiful. There's not even acknowledgement all the way through the book of Ruth's outward appearance. It's always about her character that he notices. The first time he notices her, she's picking grain. She's been there all day long, okay? He's always considered with her character first. So he even goes on to use words to describe her that are used elsewhere in the Old Testament to describe men of valor, warriors, and soldiers. He's saying, you have courage to do all of this. You're coming in the middle of the night to be here. The reason I'm here is because there's going to be people who are going to try to steal my stuff, and you've risked everything to be here. And he praises her for that. And he also tells her that everyone knows all about her and her character, okay? He says the whole town knows what kind of woman you are, okay? So when Ruth and Naomi first showed up to town, and the whole newspaper went out about these widows are back in town and everybody knows, Boaz could have gone to Naomi and forced his legal right to marry Ruth. He had that option underneath the kinsman redeemer law. But he never does, okay? And Boaz reassures her, I will do everything that you have asked. He sees her, he honors her, and he responds again with grace, okay? So this is why I call Boaz the book boyfriend in the Old Testament. He's always saying and doing the right thing, okay? He is the ultimate book boyfriend, like those guys that women tend to write. He's always acting in the best interest of everyone else. He's strong and yet humble. He's righteous and gracious. There really should be some more Boazes out in the world.
Amen.
Verse 12. And now it is true that I am a redeemer, yet there is a redeemer nearer than I. Remain tonight, and in the morning, if he will redeem you, good, let him do it. But if he is not willing to redeem you, then as the Lord lives, I will redeem you. Lay down until the morning. So here's the twist. While Boaz is a redeemer, he is not the closest one.
Does that mean closest to her in age?
No.
Closer to her in relationship. So there's
So now we're
another...
talking incest?
No. She's related to them by marriage. So her
But
husband
he
was
not.
their family member.
Okay.
So somebody else would have been a closer relative to her
To have
dead
married her.
husband
Okay.
than Boaz is. So
Okay.
he would have first right of refusal,
So
basically.
we don't have exactly who Boaz was. Like, was he Naomi's cousin or was he Naomi's husband's cousin?
Yeah, we don't have that relationship. But he would have been related to Elimelech because he's in the same clan as Elimelech.
Okay.
So we don't have exactly how they're all related, but they are related, and apparently there's somebody who's more related to them, okay? So there's another man who would get first claim. So Boaz here, again, doesn't rush ahead. Even though he has a right, he's like, no, I've looked into this, I've checked into this. Somebody's closer than I am. So you know that it's at least crossed his mind enough for him to go, nope, him, he would be closer. Okay, so it's at least crossed his mind.
He was interested.
He's interested. Okay? So he wants to redeem Ruth, but he's still choosing to do it God's way. Just like when the famine hit. He could have left. That's the logical decision. He could marry Ruth. Logical decision. He's going, no, I'm going to honor God in my choices here. No scheming, no shortcuts. He respects God's law and the other man's right. Okay? Again, just showing the depth of Boaz's integrity here.
Do we know why he isn't already married?
Boaz? No, it would have been his choice. Yeah.
That's a good question.
It's a
He
good
said, oh,
question.
why hadn't he ever been married?
Well, is that nice?
Right. Why hasn't we snatched this old myself up?
It would have been his choice, but we can see a lot of humility here, so he probably just figured that he wasn't ready. Because again, a man had to prove that they were ready to take on a wife and children, and so maybe he felt that he was not ready for that. That would have been his choice. Alright, so he was not going to take Ruth by force or manipulation. He's going to wait and do what is rightful, okay? And it's going to come through God's hand. So we see this not only in contrast to the rest of the book of Judges. If you've read through Judges, everybody's just doing whatever they feel like doing. They could care less whether God's involved or not. But also Genesis, which is the next book that we're going to study, is in stark contrast to how all of the patriarchs were scheming to get God's will to be done. Here Boaz is saying, I'm gonna put all of this in God's hand and I'm gonna let God figure it out. That's not for me to figure out, okay? So verse 14. So she lay at his feet until morning, but rose before one could recognize another. And he said, let it not be known that the woman came to the threshing floor. And he said, bring the garment you are wearing and hold it out. So she held it out, and he measured out 6 measures of barley and put it on her, and then she went into the city. Okay, so before dawn, that's what that means when you can't see one another. The sun hasn't risen yet. So before dawn, Ruth is getting ready to leave, and Boaz wants her to leave as well to keep her honor intact, so that, gossip, remember, small little town, gossip spreads. They don't want somebody to say, oh, they were doing something inappropriate on the threshing floor. Okay, so he's going to have her honor here intact. He wants to protect her reputation while he quietly deals with the legal situation. Okay, and then he sends her away with 6 measures of barley. That's twice as much as she gleaned in chapter 2. So it's a sign of provision and respect. It's also sending a message to Naomi, because when Ruth would show back up home with Naomi with this huge sack of grain, it's also telling Naomi, I know what you're doing. I'm with you. I'm in agreement with you. I'm going to take care of you too. Okay, so it's kind of like a secret message to Naomi. So Ruth would also not have to work that day.
Can I ask, how is somebody that doesn't know enough about the Bible and enough about that religious background supposed to glean all that from what you just said?
Studying. Lots of studying.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I'm just reading a little romance on it. I mean,
Actually, there's
without
not
your
romance
I mean,
here,
just like
yeah.
the sweetness of the moment where
Yes.
he's so respectful of her is
Yes.
what I mean.
It's more of an honor culture.
Yeah.
So it's not romantic. It's not, a 90-cent romance book. This is honor.
Yeah.
He is going to protect her at all costs and provide for her. Okay. Now that is a romantic symbol, but this doesn't have anything to do with romance. Okay. So Ruth doesn't have to work that day. She could just take that home, and they could rest on the fact that we have this huge pile of food available to us. Okay. And she goes home, and she rests in the fact that Boaz is going to do what he says he's going to do. So all of her trust in that this man is going to go and do what he says he's going to do. Okay? And all of his character up till now is he's going to do what he says he's going to do. Okay? So verse 16. And when she came home to her mother-in-law, she said, how did you fare, my daughter? Then she told her all that the man had done for her, saying, these 6 measures of barley he gave to me. For he said to me, you must not go back empty-handed to your mother-in-law. She replied, wait, my daughter, until you learn how the matter turns out, for the man will not rest, but will settle the matter today. So Ruth goes home. She tells Naomi everything that happens. And Naomi has something very wise to say to her. Wait. Just wait. Okay? The easy part's done. Now comes the hard part. Now we have to sit around and wait to find out what happens. Ruth and Naomi must sit and wait and trust. But Naomi is completely confident. She says this man will not rest until he has finished this legal matter today. She trusts that he's going to go today and take care of this legal matter. Okay? And this is the posture of faith. Sometimes we're called to act boldly. It would have taken a lot for Ruth to go out in the middle of the night and wait around for this man to lie down and then go uncover his feet and lay down
I was
and wait.
thinking that.
That's a lot of faith.
That's a brave woman.
That's a brave, brave woman. Other times we're called to just sit and wait, okay? And let the Redeemer move, because it's now their time, all right? So this chapter is an incredible display of courage, submission, and honor. Ruth takes a bold step by laying down and putting herself at Boaz's feet, but not in desperation. Remember, this isn't even her idea. It's Naomi's idea. So Naomi is putting her hope in the law at the time when nobody cared about the law, okay? And Boaz responds, not with power, not you're mine, I'm going to take you, which he could have. He responds with protection and promise and provision for her. And Naomi's wisdom is kind of guiding this whole process, that she's now trusting on the God who's written these laws and put these provisions in place for his people. And beneath it all, God's invisible hand is guiding, aligning hearts, and preparing the way of redemption, not just for Ruth and Naomi, but eventually for all of Israel and even for us.
Yeah, because her husband is way